Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating and air, restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
The balance of power in Washington hanging in the balance, with some races still left unsettled, including a key one here in San Diego County. Good evening, I'm Maya Trabulsi. As the vote count continues, Democratic Congressman Mike Levin is ahead of his Republican challenger in the 49th District, but his lead has narrowed. Here's KPBS North County reporter Tanya Thorne.
The race for the 49th District, which straddles San Diego and Orange counties, was hotly contested all the way through Election Day. With just over half the votes counted by Wednesday afternoon, Levin was leading Brian Marriott by a 51 to 49% margin. Levin acknowledged in a rally late Tuesday evening that the race isn't over, but he sounded confident.
And while there is still a long way to go and thousands of ballots left to count, thanks to the work you put in and based on everything we know about the outstanding vote, we are confident that when all is said and done, we will prevail.
At his own election night rally, Marriott thanked his supporters for a hard-fought race and still held out hope for a come-from-behind victory.
I think we're going to win tonight. That's what my gut tells me. And if we lose like professionals. We lose with elegance.
Thad Kauser is a political science professor at UC San Diego. He said history is on Levin's side, but that's no guarantee.
Overall, we generally see a blue shift in the week after an election, but people have been changing how they vote and when they vote so much in American elections that we're just going to have to sit back, be patient, and wait for every vote to be counted.
An update on election results is expected on Thursday. Tanya Thorne, KPBS News.
Democrats are breathing a sigh of relief as an anticipated red wave has not materialized, but many races are too close to call. Isabel Rosales breaks down the crucial contest that could decide who controls Congress.
We are thrilled at the unexpected high turnout.
Voters showing up at the polls and making their voices heard. Election day is over, but key races remain uncalled as the balance of power in the Senate rests in the hands of a few swing states. A stronger than expected showing for Democrats, blocking a so-called red wave.
Democrats had a strong night, and we lost fewer seats in the House of Representatives than any Democratic president's first midterm election in the last 40 years.
Still, Republicans remain cautiously optimistic about winning control of the House.
The American people are ready for a majority that will offer a new direction.
Despite the battle for control of Congress remaining unsettled, a big boost for Democrats in battleground Pennsylvania. Democrat John Fetterman defeating Republican Mehmet Oz, a Trump-endorsed candidate, in their race for Senate.
I never expected that we were going to turn these red counties blue, but we did what we needed to do.
And a significant win for Republicans in the Sunshine State. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis delivering historic margins in key Democratic territory like Miami-Dade County.
The people have delivered their verdict. Freedom is here to stay.
The critical Senate race in Georgia projected to go to a runoff on December 6th. The showdown between Republican Herschel Walker and incumbent Democratic Senator Raphael Warnock may be key to determine which party is in control. From Capitol Hill, Isabel Rosales, KPBS News.
And the race for San Diego County Sheriff is one of the most closely watched local contests. Taking a look at the results right now, Under Sheriff Kelly Martinez is leading former prosecutor John Hemmerling with 57.1% of the vote. KPBS reporter Kitty Alvarado has an update.
San Diego County Undersheriff Kelly Martinez was feeling good the morning after the election. She was leading former county prosecutor John Hemmerling by a 14-point margin in the race for sheriff.
You know, I feel really good about the results so far. Of course, we still need to wait for the final results, but it was really exciting to have this much of a lead. And, you know, we've worked so hard and I've had so much terrific support.
And one of her biggest supporters is San Diego Mayor Todd Gloria. He celebrated Martinez on social media for being the first female sheriff in San Diego County's history, even though the vote count is not complete. Martinez says Gloria has been there for her throughout the campaign and shared what he told her on election night.
He's always been a terrific supporter, someone I could call as I went through this process, never having been in politics. So he just told me he's proud of me and he's happy for the result.
KPBS reached out to Hemmerling. His spokesperson said he would not be commenting until the next update on the vote count. Martinez says if she doesn't win, she will retire feeling proud of her nearly 4 decades-long career in the Sheriff's Department. She's already accomplished many firsts in the department's 172-year history, including being the first female undersheriff.
You know, it's exciting, and it's exciting for all of the women who've come before me and all of the women who will come after me.
And the advice she would give her 21-year-old self just starting out in the academy, knowing what she knows now, is the same she would give all young women.
I think sometimes as women we doubt ourselves a little bit, and I think I would have told myself, you know, just believe in yourself, you're going to do great.
On Thursday, the County Registrar of Voters will provide another official update of the vote count. Kitty Alvarado, KPBS News.
And turning now to Chula Vista, where voters were asked to pick a new mayor. Let's take a look at the latest results. And as you can see, John McCann is in the lead with 55.2% of the vote. And KPBS reporter Gustavo Solis spoke with the candidate.
John McCann says Chula Vista voters value his experience.
There's a lot to learn. People think that you just go in, be a council member, and it's easy. But we are a city that's a $500 million budget. We run your parks, we run the fire, we run the police, we run your libraries. They're very complicated issues, and you need to be able to understand the process.
McCann's opponent, Amar Campanajar, said he would bring a new vision to the city. He declined an interview request Tuesday night, and he didn't respond to a follow-up request on Wednesday. The winner will replace termed-out Mayor Mary Salas, who has served since 2014. McCann says he expects to hold the lead.
The 8 o'clock numbers from last night had me up by 8%, and then we gained almost 600 votes, and now we're at 10% lead. So we hope that trend continues.
The San Diego County Register of Voters plans to update the election results by Thursday evening. Gustavo Solis, KPBS News.
And early returns are showing a deceased candidate leading in the race for Chula Vista City Attorney. Democrat Simon Silva died unexpectedly of cancer in September. However, his name remained on the ballot. Dan Smith, Silva's Republican opponent, says he's confident that he'll come out on top. But Smith is still angry at the San Diego County Democratic Party for continuing to endorse a dead candidate.
Look, he just passed away September 3rd. So the voters just don't know. And the Democrat Party, it's disappointing, has chosen to omit that fact to share that with their voters.
With 32,000 votes counted so far, less than 1 percentage point separates Smith and Silva. And if Silva wins, Chula Vista taxpayers will have to spend up to $2 million on a special election. It's a tight race for Measure B, a vote on the future of trash collection in the city of San Diego. KPBS reporter Jacob Ayers says the ballot measure would update the People's Ordinance.
Measure B asks City of San Diego residents about the future of what's known as the People's Ordinance. It's a 100-year-old law that allows single-family homeowners in the city of San Diego to not pay additional fees for trash pickup, while multifamily complexes and businesses have to hire private waste haulers. Right now, homeowner service is paid out of the city's general fund, and City Council President Shawnee Rivera says if Measure B doesn't pass, other public services may suffer.
It'll just mean that the job of the city will be more difficult when it comes to delivering the basic services, which means it'll be even more challenging to do anything beyond that.
Ela Rivera spearheaded the push for yes on Measure B to update the ordinance. With over 210,000 votes now counted for the measure, no on Measure B is leading by just less than 1 percentage point. If that result holds, that means the current system would stay in place.
There's one thing that everybody agrees on is that the system's unfair. And so we have to find ways to to change this and correct what is unfair about the system. We just happen to differ on the right way to change this to make it more fair.
But with the San Diego County Registrar of Voters projecting 500,000 more ballots to be counted, the outcome could still change in the close race. If that were to happen, it means the People's Ordinance would be amended.
We've been interested in a fix to this unfair and unsustainable situation for more than a decade. So we really feel that it would be a missed opportunity for an equitable solution if the measure fails.
If Measure B passes, it would be at least 2 years before any fees are charged to single-family homeowners. The city's independent budget analyst estimates customers would pay up to $29 per month. A win for yes on Measure B would also guarantee free trash bins for all, which the city does not currently provide. Jacob Ayer, KPBS News.
And Measure D appears to be heading toward passing. At last check, the measure had 57% of votes in favor of ending a decade-long ban on the use of project labor agreements in municipal projects. The measure would repeal Measure A from 2012, which prohibits the city from requiring that contractors enter collective bargaining agreements known as PLAs. San Diego appears ready to elect a city government made up entirely of Democrats. Republicans had pinned their hopes on Linda Lucas, who ran against the incumbent District 2, Jen Campbell. But as of now, Campbell still holds a comfortable lead at 55.2% of the vote. In District 6, Kent Lee is holding a strong lead at 57% of the vote over challenger Tommy Howe, who campaigned on resisting the city's efforts to grow and build more housing. Lee says he ran a positive campaign.
I think this has always been a race that has been about building a coalition and a community and looking at how we can best represent, everyone that's in District 6. And to see the results so far, I think we're super optimistic.
And incumbents Monica Montgomery Stepp in District 4 and Vivian Moreno in District 8 also appear poised to win re-election by wide margins. One of the nail-biters from the election is Measure C, which would carve out the Midway District from San Diego's 30-foot coastal height limit. KPBS Metro reporter Andrew Bowen takes a closer look at the results.
Midway is among the most blighted neighborhoods in San Diego. Measure C's supporters say raising the height limit would incentivize property owners to invest in the area and build more housing, while also allowing the city to redevelop the sports arena property. Opponents said that new development would worsen traffic. Early results on Tuesday suggest the outcome won't be clear for several days. That's in contrast to 2020, when voters overwhelmingly approved an identical ballot measure before that one got tied up in a lawsuit. DK Anyuo chairs the Midway Planning Group. He says regardless of the outcome, Midway residents still deserve a better neighborhood.
I think that the city is under immense pressure to do everything in its power to address the housing and housing affordability crisis that we have, right? So I don't think, the conversation around redeveloping an arena or redeveloping in Midway is ever going away.
If Measure C fails, the city does have a backup plan. It's appealing the lawsuit that blocked the 2020 ballot measure. That legal process could take years before getting resolved. Andrew Bowen, KPBS News.
The right to abortion and contraception will be enshrined in California's Constitution after the passing of Proposition 1. Early returns showed the proposition had 68% in favor of passing, but supporters said they wanted a clearly decisive win to demonstrate that California will keep abortion safe and legal in the state. Other states around the country also considered a similar measure after the June's Supreme Court decision that individual states could decide whether to allow abortion. Opponents of the measure said it was expensive, extreme, and unnecessary. Two propositions that would bring sports gambling to California appear headed for defeat despite being the most expensive ballot question races in state history. Prop 26 would have allowed for in-person sports betting at tribal casinos and 4 racetracks, including Del Mar. It was supported by more than 50 tribes, and right now the no's are at just over 70%. Prop 27 would have allowed online sports betting and was supported by online gaming companies like DraftKings and a few smaller tribes. And as you can see, the no's are at 83.3%. Nearly $600 million was raised in opposition and support of the measures. Both required a simple majority to pass. A huge victory for education. Voters overwhelmingly approved a bond measure that will fund affordable housing for new teachers in San Diego Unified. And as KPBS education reporter MG Perez tells us, California will now lead the nation in funding for the arts in every classroom.
Girl, go like this. You have to be a crab. You can't be you.
Beginning next fall, every public school student in California could have the chance to perform in an acting class.
Yeah, his brush is wet.
Or express their passion painting a picture. California voters said yes to Proposition 28, which will guarantee as much as $1 billion every school year for arts education taken from the state budget without raising taxes.
This amount of money is incredibly historic. The eyes of the nation are on us.
Russ Sperling is director of visual and performing arts in the San Diego Unified School District. He is a veteran arts administrator who estimates his district will get an additional $15 million every year.
From a district office or a state perspective, we're not saying you have to offer this class. We're saying to the principals and the communities, what arts do you want to see at your school? And that should be in response to what the community wants.
In other words, the new state funding for all the arts and music programs will be tailored to the specific needs of a school. And that money cannot be spent on anything else.
Good to go. Thank you so much.
Local voters also said yes to Measure U, involving a $3.2 billion bond that will be spent on building new schools and improving older campuses across San Diego Unified. Part of that money will also be spent here at the district's administration property in University Heights. Within the next 3 years, central offices are being moved to Kearny Mesa, and this will be repurposed into a kind of educator's village with 500 units of affordable housing for employees who need it.
Primarily for people who are youngest in the teaching profession, or new custodians or new bus drivers who are coming into the district who have such a difficult time being able to afford to live in San Diego.
I'll be like, look at this stuff.
The victories for education this election come after intense campaigning. And in the case of the arts funding proposition, there was support from some big names in entertainment, including a Tony-nominated Emmy Award-winning actress.
And if that's what we get to teach them, maybe one of them will write the new Hamilton musical. Look at that. Come on. I see great things coming out of this vote, and I am excited.
And she should know. MG Perez, KPBS News.
California voters appear to be saying no to flavored tobacco products, with just over 59% of the vote upholding the 2020 ban. Prop 31 would ban products such as menthol cigarettes and flavored vaping juice. Supporters of the ban say the law was necessary to stop the surge of teen smoking. California is now the second state in the country to ban all flavored tobacco products, including menthol cigarettes. The law goes into effect 5 days after the election is certified. And a measure to tax cannabis businesses in San Diego County's unincorporated area is ahead after early returns. And taking a look right now at the numbers, the yeses are at 57.4%. And this would allow the Board of Supervisors to tax business dealings from retail sales to distribute and cultivation. Outco and El Cajon's unincorporated area will be paying this tax. CEO Lincoln Fish says he doesn't think it will have a huge impact. He says it's the state excise tax that hurts.
It's sort of the collective value of all the taxes together that hurt us. And again, most of us in the industry don't really mind as long as it's a level playing field and they use some of those funds to shut down operations that shouldn't be in business. And, there's just not enough of that going on.
And Fish says that no one wants any more taxes, but he's hopeful that supervisors will stick to their word and do more to curtail illegal operators. Measure A could generate anywhere from $2 to $5 million per year. And we are covering all of the major local and state races on our website, kpbs.org, and you can find the latest election results as well as our reporting. Tropical storm Nicole is gaining strength as it moves toward Florida tonight, where it's expected to make landfall as a hurricane. Chris Wynn shows us how millions of people are preparing for the storm and why this weather event is so rare.
Florida is once again bracing for another devastating storm, and this time it's expected to be historic.
I urge Floridians statewide to stay indoors in a safe structure and away from the coastline.
Nicole is forecasted to hit Florida's east coast late Wednesday into Thursday as a Category 1 hurricane. That would make it the first time in 37 years that a hurricane has made landfall in the U.S. in November.
The most recent track shows that
it will make landfall in Martin County.
The region can't catch a break as it's recovering from the devastation left behind by Hurricane Ian. It's now bracing for more damage, possible tornadoes, and widespread power outages,
including tropical storm force winds as far north as Jacksonville. Winds are the main concern with Nicole, but we also expect to see some heavy rains, the potential for flash flooding, and 3 to 5 feet of storm surge in some areas.
Evacuation orders are in place for several counties, with some airports shutting down operations in preparation. A total of 23 school districts are expected to close Thursday, as officials urge all Florida residents to take precautions before it's too late.
There may come a time during and after the storm that local governments cannot immediately send first responder into harm's way to assist you. So therefore, make sure you have everything that you may need.
In Cocoa Beach, Florida, Chris Wynn, KPBS News.
Well, we've had some pretty active weather. Good news is we're starting to dry on out and the powerful winds starting to diminish as we continue through tonight. We will have a slight warm up as we head into the weekend, but heads up, another storm system could bring some wind, some cooler temperatures, maybe some showers in some spots again as we head into next week. As for tonight, pretty calm and clear, down to about 41 in Oceanside, San Diego down to about 49, Ramona 36, Borrego Springs 43, and one of our coolest spots, Mount Laguna, you'll drop to 30. As we head into our Thursday, it's going to feel more like December than early November as we see that big dip in the jet stream, seeing those unseasonably cool temperatures sticking around as we head into our day. We'll see those 60s and 70s for most. Oceanside 69, San Diego 67, Borrego Springs makes it to 72, but Mount Laguna just into the lower 50s. As we head into our Friday, it still will be a bit cool as we look farther into the future. Here, we're going to stick around with those cool temperatures, but we will be dry as we do wrap up the week. Eventually, we'll see temperatures warm up a little bit. Let's take a look at your 5-day forecast for the coast with those temperatures into the upper 60s and then briefly cooler on Sunday before back to the 70s as we head into Monday. The inland valleys, upper 60s and then low 70s return Friday and Saturday. A bit of a dip in temperature Sunday before warming back up with sunshine on Monday. Your 5-day forecast in the mountains will be sunny but cool as we head throughout our Thursday. Temperatures increase a bit for Friday and Saturday. We're back into the mid-50s and then briefly cooler again on Sunday with that wind. And then Monday, we're sunny but still cool with those temperatures into the 50s. In the deserts, we'll see pretty consistent weather into the low 70s. Overnight, temperatures will be dropping back into the 40s. For KPBS News, I'm Ariella Scalise.
California regulators appear poised to flip the switch on a major revision of the rules regulating rooftop solar. KPBS environment reporter Eric Anderson says the California Public Utilities Commission is signaling they are ready to reveal the new proposal.
It's been nearly a year since the CPUC's first proposal landed with a thud. Regulators proposed steep monthly fees for solar owners, and they slashed the value of electricity generated on rooftops and sold back to the grid. That plan was pulled back a month later, and the industry has been waiting for a revision since January.
It should have been done in less than a year, and now we've been going on for 2 years.
The California Solar and Storage Association fought hard against that first proposal.
So it's all quite strung out, and hopefully it gets resolved at this point finally and reasonably for all parties concerned.
Late last Friday, a federal judge quietly scheduled oral arguments on the issue next week. More than 30 groups will get about 3 minutes each to make their case to commissioners. That suggests the new rules are about to be made public.
We don't know. No one really knows.
Kathy Fairbanks represents an advocacy group largely funded by the state's investor-owned utilities.
The CPUC rightly keeps all of this very close to the vest. But the fact that they have announced oral arguments on November 16th indicates that they want, and they haven't said this, but indicates that they want comment on perhaps a revised proposed decision.
That proposed decision could be made public as soon as this week. Eric Anderson, KPBS News.
I'm Judy Woodruff. Tonight on the NewsHour, how Democrats appear to have staved off a Republican wave in this year's midterms. Coming up at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
And here's another look at today's top stories. The race for the 49th Congressional District, which straddles San Diego and Orange counties, was hotly contested all the way through Election Day. And as of now, Democratic incumbent Mike Levin is leading his Republican challenger Brian Marriott with 51% of the vote. And at this hour, Under Sheriff Kelly Martinez is leading former prosecutor John Hammerling for San Diego County Sheriff with 57.1% of the vote. The County Registrar of Voters is expected to provide another update of the vote count tomorrow evening. And here's a look at what we're working on for tomorrow in the KPBS newsroom. A loss for the tobacco industry in California. NPR's Morning Edition dives into the decision by voters to keep a ban on flavored cigarettes and vaping products. And then on KPBS Midday Edition, we'll keep track of the latest election information locally as mail-in ballots continue to be counted. And you can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Good night.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating and air, restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.